Hello, Year 7, it's Mr. Johns here. Just starting our third lesson on the what is an economy topic. Now, first thing I'd like you to do is, can you go into the Google Classroom and you'll see that there's a Google Forms quiz there. If you just do that, I think there's 10 questions. Have a go at it and make a note of your score. You should get the instant answers and instant feedback on questions you got right and wrong. Okay, so if you pause the video and then have a go at that quiz to start with. Right then, so ready to move on to our next topic, or next section of the topic. So the title today, if you write this down, is why is manufacturing all about choosing the right site? So we've got a few new ideas today. One is the word manufacturing, and then we're actually going to do some decision making about where factories should be located. So the first thing I'd like you to do is make a note of this keyword and give it a definition. So manufacturing means making things. So when you hear about car manufacturers, that means people who make cars. Okay, so if you write down that keyword, manufacturing, and the definition, and then I'd like you to look at the pictures on the video here on the slide. What do you think a factory is based on these pictures? And also, do you know any factories that manufacture things near here, near Teignmouth or near where you live? Are there any big manufacturing areas around here? And start to think, why might the factories below be in Devon? You know, why would a factory locate in this area? What benefits does it have? Okay, so if you just pause the video and have a go at those couple of things. Now, in the Google Classroom, you all have a copy of this worksheet. Now, it should be the case that you are all able to download that and actually, write straight into the worksheet. So you can save your own copy, and then you can write on it and annotate it, because it's like it's a Word document. So you can make your own copy and use it. So we're going to be referring to that worksheet as we go through this lesson today. If that doesn't work, it does mean that you might need to just write out, the full sentences rather than just fill in the gaps, and you might just need to write out some of the bits and pieces on there. But it won't be a huge amount of extra work for you. But hopefully it will work that you can, access that worksheet and write straight onto it. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to want you to do on that worksheet is have a look at questions 1 and 2 in a minute. But first of all, let's think about manufacturing. So manufacturing operates as a system, a bit like the farm did in the last lesson. And what that means is you have inputs, processes that take place, and then you have outputs. So you put things into the factory, it does things within the factory, i.e. make stuff, and then you get something out, which is the end product. So in order to make profits, which is money, industrialists, who are the people who run the industries, they need to keep the costs of the inputs and the processes, the things they put in and the things they do, as low as possible. And then they make as much money as they can on the outputs. So they then obviously create a product or a service which could be sold, and they try and get as much money as they can for that, so they can make as much profit, which is, again, money, as they can. So have a go at answering questions 1 and 2 on your worksheet, and try and give some clear definitions for some of the key words that it mentions there. Okay, hopefully you've all had a go at 1 and 2. Let's just check our answers for the first part. So some of you may have written this out, or some of you would have gap filled with the correct terms. So what should we have? So when people make products by hand or by machine that are then sold to customers, this process is called manufacturing. Usually this takes place in a factory. Making the right decisions about the best location for a factory is critical in order to make a profit and keep the costs of production, inputs and processes as low as possible. So just check your own answers, give them a tick, give yourself a little score out of 5. How did you do? So we're looking today at why manufacturing is all about choosing the right site. So just going to turn the video off a second so that you can actually see it. So there are 5 factors for finding the right site. The first one is cost. You want to try and get an area that's as cheap as possible so that you don't spend too much on the land where your factory is going to be located. The second one is about the workforce, making sure you've got skilled people to work there. Next of all, you obviously need to have roads and rail and things that can get products to your factory and products from your factory. You also need to have customers, and also you need to have an area where the government and the local, are sort of supportive of what you do. So one of the main decisions that industrialists need is about where to locate their factory. If they put it in the wrong place, then they will make less money or maybe even go out of business. So you can see on the article on the right that it gives some good advice on where to locate their factories. Now you're going to use this advice to make a decision about the best location for a new factory in the UK. So look carefully at the leaflet again. What sector, thinking back to our first lesson, what sector of the economy do you think that these business research consultants who've come up with these ideas work in? A little hint there, I'm talking about primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary. So think back to what those terms mean. And then next thing, looking at question 3 on your worksheet, can you add in a summary form the main location factors that a company needs to consider when it's thinking about where to put a new factory? Okay, now last thing you're going to do on the worksheet before we actually do the decision-making exercise. On here, we've got some different location factors. So labour, raw materials, transport, market, and power. So I want you to use that to finish off your worksheet and do question 4. So that's asking what are some of the key elements that you need to look for when you're trying to decide where to put a factory. Right, so time for the decision-making activity now. So making decisions is a really important part of being a geographer. We need to look at the data we've got and the information we've got and then weigh that up and make really good decisions based on that information. So on the next slide, you're going to see map C, and that shows an area where someone is thinking of locating a factory. Now they're working with the people who created the scoring system in the table to use that as a way of working out where is the best place to put their factory. Okay, so you're going to use that same system. So we can see on the map that there are 5 sites, A, B, C, D, and E, and they are all located in different places. Now, if we look at site A, we can see that it's located on the edge of a very large town with a population of 700,000. There are roads nearby. It's a little bit of away from the raw materials, but not too far. And you've got timings showing how far everywhere is on the map as well. And they're going to be useful. And then we've got a scoring system. So the scoring system gives a high score for somewhere that's better and a low score for somewhere that's worse. So if we look, for example, at labour, now if somewhere is within 30 minutes of a labour force of more than 100,000 people, so it has workers within 30 minutes, then it gets a high score of 3. So looking at A is right on the edge of this large town, therefore that would score 3 points for labour. Now we're going to do this using a table, okay? That will help us to be able to record our scores and then add them up to make a final decision. So just spend a minute or two, make a copy of this table with the different factors across the top and the 5 sites down the left. So pause the video and make a copy of the table now. So once you've got a copy of that table, you're going to use it to work out which of those sites is the best. So you look back at the map and you think, right, okay, so site A for Labour was really good. It was within 30 minutes of 100,000 people. It gets a 3. If site C, though, for example, was, say, 2 hours away from the nearest large town, that might score a 0. Okay, so look at the different factors, look at the different criteria, and score as you go. So I've started to do this one for you. So we already said that site A was a 3 because it was near to a Labour source. Let's look at raw materials. So we go back to the map. So the criteria here is, are the raw materials available on site? Well, no, site A doesn't have any raw materials actually there, but they are an hour or less away, because you can see that they're an hour from site A. So that would score it 3 points. Okay, so that's how we do it. We look at all the different criteria, how far away they are, we look at our scoring system, and then we give it a relevant score. Okay, so carry on doing that. You can record, you can flick back through the video to have a look at the map, and then score each site. And then when you have finished, give it a total score. So give each site a total score. And that will then help you see which of them scores the highest. And the one with the highest score is the one that's the best site. And then the final thing I'd like you to do is actually then just write a brief explanation of why that is the best location using the information you've got. Now, I put some sentence starters here. So if I was going to choose site A, if that ended up being the highest score, I might say, I think that the best location is A. This is because it is close to a workforce. It is also, you can add some more information. So I'm just going to go on to the next section or slide and show you some other sentence starters. And you can use these to then just finally summarize your best site. So we think that the best location is A, B, C, or D. This is because, give some reasons. Another reason this site was chosen, so give a second reason why it scored highly. And then you maybe might want to summarize why you didn't choose one of the other sites, which one did badly and why. Okay, and that's your final task. So what we've looked at then today is we've started to think, well, one, what is manufacturing? We now know what that is and what factories are. And we've started to think about why people locate them where they do. What are the important factors that people choose when they're locating factories? And you've been able to use a scoring system in order to do that and explain your reasons for doing it. Okay, so well done, guys. I'm hoping to see lots of good work from this. So if you then upload that onto Google Classroom, and obviously if you have any problems at all, just pop a little personal message into the Google Classroom, and myself or Mr. Lewis will get back to you as soon as we can. Right, see you again soon.